Funding for your career is provided by
Miller Media Group. Education for life.
Well, this isn't the official definition of service learning, but we definitely want as a goal to help students and everyone fall in love with service. Service can be defined for many as just the physical act of volunteering, of donating your time in order to help meet a larger cause that's broader than yourself. For some, it's philanthropy. It's I don't necessarily have the time, but I do have the extra funds, so I can support things that help other people. But for us, it's a way of life. It's truly a lifestyle. It's thinking in every moment, how does what I do impact anything outside of myself? And that includes from the way you talk to other people, the way you carry yourself, the purchases you make, as well as how you participate in our democratic process, and the choices you make about your profession and the way you live your life.
I'm actually kind of speechless at that. That's a beautiful answer. So Erin has a PhD in law. And this, but I'm so impressed with this. And the reason is, how did you get from that to what you're doing today? Because this is, you have an amazing heart. I can tell just by our conversation so far. And obviously in service learning, you are doing a huge service for the community. So how did you get here?
Wow, surprise question. I like those. Well, technically it's a Juris Doctorate, not a PhD. So while it is a doctorate, it is a little different. And how I got here? Well, it's actually a very short story. As part of training to be a lawyer and practicing law in Atlanta, Georgia, I realized that what lawyers do for a living is fight. And I'm a lover, not a fighter. So it was in that experience that I realized that I needed to be putting my skills and my talents into building people up, not fighting against other people. And I learned that through service. I volunteered 1,000 hours as doing pro bono work in law school because, you know, you need the experience.
Absolutely.
And there are a lot of indigent folks who could use some free legal help. And in that experience, I learned that while I'm very good at practicing law, law is not very good for me. So I ended up here in service learning.
Good for you. I'm so impressed with everything we've talked about. No, I imagine you are grateful because law is it is a tough sport. There's no question about it. No question.
And nobody likes lawyers.
No, no one does. But everyone loves you, and that's very apparent.
Well, that's quite a statement.
Well, seriously. Erin is in charge of the college match game, kind of. I taught at Baird Christian School, and we had a lot of students come here for college, and they had the heart for service. And I know a lot of our Brevard community kids do, and ones that come from across the state have that heart. So how do you put them to work and match them with an organization?
Yeah, we don't necessarily light the fire. We just help connect them with a way to make it a reality that serves not only those needs in the community, but themselves. And while service doesn't have to be selfish, right? Obviously, students in particular, and especially young students, are also looking for ways to grow as an individual and improve their resume and explore potential career options and earn some scholarship money. And so service learning is a way to do all of those things while simultaneously meeting some of the needs in the community that we all benefit from because we all live here in the community. So essentially, we help compile a list of opportunities through working with organizations. We work with at least 300 nonprofit or government agencies and organizations. And then we also help the students match their particular passions and vocational desires and their schedules and transportation needs, and of course their academic requirements with those opportunities. And then we document it for them. We help provide the paperwork, and then we call and verify that the hours have been completed and put those hours on their academic transcripts, in addition to whatever use they are having for their academic coursework.
Can you give us an example of a course that possibly, I know you said that you offered some courses, but that faculty offer courses for these kids to sign up and
absolutely
take their gifts and channel them in the right direction?
Yes, as inspired as students are, they're often very busy people, and
yes.
sometimes they need incentivizing. And we have at least 150 currently faculty members who in some way offer service learning as a part of their academic coursework, and sometimes it's a requirement. It's an essential assignment students have to complete. For many, though, it's an extra credit opportunity, a chance to...
Which is that big light that's shining. Extra
right.
credit, bring your grade up.
Who
We
doesn't
love that.
like extra
exactly.
credit? I wish I got it at work. But definitely it's an opportunity for them. And so the faculty incentivize it in whatever way they see fit for their particular discipline, but it's really offered in every discipline at the college.
Wow.
Yeah, and not necessarily every instructor, but at least there's an opportunity in whatever course you're taking that you might be able to apply service to it in some very beneficial way to yourself. We do have some programs that require it, usually in the health sciences, but it's not necessarily a general degree requirement for our AA students.
Well, what are some of the services, the organizations that you match the students up with?
Well, the sky's the limit when it comes to nonprofits and government.
So big ones that everyone would know, but there are also some smaller ones that are in our community that have, some of them actually been founded here and have started here in Brevard.
Yeah, well, and we do make some exceptions too. The nonprofit or government requirement, we make an exception, let's say, for privately owned hospitals, corporate hospitals, like Wusthof would be one of our exceptions. Students can volunteer there for a couple reasons. It's a huge human need to take care of people who are sick, but also because generally hospitals can't turn down people who come for help. So it is definitely an area of need, but any of the public libraries, public offices, public schools, and even private schools, because anything working with education or youth generally, our parks and recreation facilities, volunteering anywhere through county government, working with the zoo, working
so it's
with...
wide open. It sounds just fascinating for the kids. I refer to them as kids, young adults, let's say young adults.
Well, some of them aren't young. That's the great thing about working at a state college.
True. That's true.
We get quite a diversity, and we have students all the time that come in that are grandparents, that are veterans who are looking for a new career.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. And many of the organizations we work with aren't so popular or well-known, and so we try to recruit students into those opportunities. Most students do know about the hospitals and the schools, and of course things like the soup kitchens or working with organizations like Habitat for Humanity, and of course the animal shelters. Those tend to be ones where students have already been familiarized with that need. But we do have some really small or obscure opportunities with housing for the homeless or Catholic Charities, where you can still meet a very critical need in the community, but you're working through a much smaller organization.
I wish there had been programs like that when I was in school. I don't think there was anything even remotely like that, my goodness. So what basically you're doing is just providing positive attitude changes for these kids, and I think that that's hugely important. Give me a success story. Tell me something that has just warmed your heart and made it all worth it.
That's our hope, that we have lots of success stories. Sometimes it isn't that way, but some of the ones that have truly transformed me are when students come back and they realize their own power. So I have tons of stories about students that can talk about the number of dogs they helped or the number of kids they read to, or the way that the community benefited from their service. But where I see the most positive impact is when the students come back and they go, I did that. I'm amazing. I make a difference. And that's many times where I feel like this is such an important part of this college. I mean, while we are a state college and we do have some responsibility to serve our larger community, the students are our first priority. And many of them are not so sure what they want to do when they grow up, or what their next step is in their professional career, or where their strengths lie, or how they can impact the community around them. And service learning is a very real, tangible way that they can have evidence on paper that says, wow, I did that. Because sometimes you don't ace a math test, sometimes you don't write the best paper, sometimes you're not a good public speaker. But I'll be darned if you can't give 10 hours of your time and see, I make a difference.
Absolutely. I think it's a wonderful thing I see, especially in our communities today. There's so many kids that are just, I hate to say lazy, but they just don't have any fire. You know, they just have nothing to look forward to. They don't know what they want to do with their future. So if you match them up and they can get excited about something, what a great opportunity for them.
Yeah.
Well, you mentioned earlier to me when we were talking about your scholarships. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, incentives is the way we get them hooked, you know, and not because I've observed that they aren't interested in service, but because college students have a lot on their plate, and sometimes not just time, but finances are really thin. So trying to get them to see this is a good opportunity for them requires sometimes offering a little carrot. And extra credit in the class is one, but who doesn't like free college either, right?
Absolutely.
So, and any scholarship application is going to ask you about your service experience. So that's always going to provide different scholarship opportunities. But here at Eastern Florida, we do offer two directly to our students who have documented at least 75 hours of service. And one is for $1,000, one is for $500, which can cover quite a few textbooks. And
absolutely.
And I've never seen a huge number of students compete for that money, and I don't understand why, because there's so many students out there that are documenting so many hours of service. So perhaps we need to do better about getting the word out that these are available to the students. Of course, there are only two of them, but even students who don't earn money have recognition, which of course is invaluable when it comes to your professional resume and your academic resume. And we recognize every student who documents at least 75 hours of service while they're here at the college.
Is that the average amount over, is this for a year, per course, per their entire college? How do you keep track of the hours?
Well, we track hours from the moment they begin at the college to the moment they graduate. Some of them are retroactive, meaning students don't find out about this opportunity until they've been here for a while. So we go back and put some of those past hours on, but we can't document any hours that they completed prior to beginning classes. But there is really no average. The 75 mark is what we came up with based on it actually being a regular part of their curriculum. So in order to get 75 hours in an academic year, you would have to do service in at least perhaps 2 or 3 classes over the course of an academic year, depending on what type of classes. But most classes require about 20 hours of service, whether that's for extra credit or for an additional credit hour. And our community involvement class requires 32 hours of service.
Do the students sign up for more than one type of service, or is it generally just one specific thing that they decide that that's what they want to do?
That varies as well. We have some students that are service hoppers. You know, they come in every class, they want to try something different, and then we have others that immediately find what they love, and they just want to be able to build up a level of expertise and familiarity and networking opportunities within that. That tends to be the case for students who go to the hospitals, especially because the hospitals do require a few more hours of service than most organizations because of the investment they put into their volunteers.
Right. And the teaching on their side.
That they do background checks and they have to pay for a TB test, and there's some training that's required and liability issues. So.
Oh my goodness. So you are the director here on this campus, but you have a supervisor as well. Is the program, so the program is larger than just the Cocoa campus?
Absolutely, yeah. Technically, I'm the regional coordinator. We're a 6-member team, and we couldn't do it without each of our members because we are our 4 brick and mortar campuses, and we do have over 3,500 to 5,000 students, give or take, every year that do document service through our program. So it's a lot of students to track and to work with, especially when they need one-on-one counseling about their experiences. And of course, Evelyn and myself, we also teach on the faculty the community involvement and human service experiences that are offered through this program.
And what do you teach? That's the name of the class, the community service involvement?
Correct. Community involvement is a second-year social science course. It's sort of like taking a sociology class combined with a civics class. class. It's a very interdisciplinary course, but it requires 32 hours of volunteering for the students, and it really looks at the idea of what it means to be a citizen in a democracy, that balance between our rights and our responsibilities, and how engagement is essential for democracy to even exist. And through that exploration, we look at things like leadership and how we need leaders in order to have a functional society.
Now, can we sign the whole county up for this program? Possibly the country. It would be a good program for us all to take. That sounds.
It is a great course.
It sounds really interesting. Oh my goodness, I might have to sign up for it myself. You also mentioned that you were the president of Rotaract, and I find this fascinating. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, technically, I'm the advisor. The students are the officers. They run the club. It is a student-led club.
That goes in the, that I can see that would be coming.
Yeah, I'm the advisor from the staff faculty side, and essentially I just guide the students on their own journey in service. And it's a really great group of students, very diverse, of all ages and backgrounds, all majors. And depending on the year, we have 45 to 75 active members, and it is one of the largest, most active clubs in the entire college. The students are engaged in up to 100 service projects in any given year, and they decide which ones they want to do. I present them or invite them to certain opportunities, and they just vote on whether or not a service project is something that is conducive to their interests and their schedule. And we serve everything from the Parks and Rec to the Crosswinds Youth Services to the Children's Home Society to volunteering within our public school program and overseeing College Day, where the kids come over and tour the entire campus, including our television station here. But it allows students to engage in a variety of service projects in a way that they don't have to volunteer alone.
Wow.
So it's a little less intimidating because many times students go out and volunteer by themselves in the public school or in the hospital or at the zoo. And this is a chance for them to volunteer with a core group of friends, because we become friends very quickly, where they can learn as much as they can in that one project, but they don't have the pressure of having to continue to go back like a normal service placement.
I love what you said about the kids discover that there is a bit more than just learning in the classroom, and their hearts become, they become compassionate about a service. And do they fundraise as well? Is this a fundraising?
Absolutely, yes. We can document service hours for any student that does fundraising on behalf of one of the nonprofits, as long as it's supervised by that nonprofit or government agency. But Rotaract especially, and one of the most successful fundraisers they do is every year they do the Haunted Trail with Kiwanis Island, where they scare people out in the woods and they raise
Ooh, that sounds like fun.
It is, and they raise so much money. Oh, I'm in it.
Oh,
I'm
you
one
are?
of the guides. I guide the people around the trail.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's my secret identity on the side.
We won't tell anybody.
But,
no one will know.
They raised $4,000, or actually more than that last year, and half of that goes back to the Parks and Rec and some of their really important programs, and then the other half, the students vote on which organization they want to donate. And so this year they chose to give that to the Relay for Life. Last year it was the Lupus Foundation. So
oh my goodness.
Yeah, lots of students with big hearts, but that's why this program was created by the college. I mean, while it is important to serve these needs in the community, the research is absolutely just significant when it comes to the benefits to the students. I mean, it clearly shows strong correlations that students who do service while they're in college are more likely to stay in school, more likely to have higher GPAs, more likely to make better decisions, less destructive decisions about their own choice and their own lifestyles. So that's what the school wants, right? They want to see students be successful, and it's just kind of a nice side effect that we get to help out all these organizations in the community.
Oh my gosh, I am just overwhelmed with the number. You told me 300 organizations.
Correct.
So, and I know that some of those are the big ones that we talked. You mentioned a couple of those before, but tell us some of the smaller ones that maybe are just getting going in Brevard, so that our viewers can know about those. I will throw out who we play for because because I know that I had them on the show and they were just great young men, and I would imagine that they started doing that sort of thing with the heart, just like the students you work with.
Yeah, and that's how organizations really do start, is that somebody gets a great idea, there's a need, and people come together to make that happen. And that is really the best example I have recently, is who we play for. And actually the Rotaract Club helped do their fundraising with their Glow Race. They did a 5K out at the port this year, and so that was fun to be able to help them out. But As far as new organizations that need a significant number of students to volunteer, we tend to get places that just need a couple of volunteers, like the Brevard Historical Commission, or case volunteering at the American Red Cross, Boys and Girls Club, Big Brothers Big Sisters, dealing with Crosswinds Youth Services, Harmony Farms, Walk on Water, so therapeutic organizations.
I'm sure our viewers have no idea that there are so many organizations in Brevard that are needing volunteers and needing people. So it's wonderful that the students can do this. I mean, I'm hearing names that I have heard, but you always kind of think that they're self-sufficient and that they go on their own. And so it's good that our kids are involved in this.
No, that's one of the best feedback we get from our community partners, is that many of them could not function if it were not for their volunteers. And part of my goal is to market the program. And one of the things I love to do is we put on care fairs in the fall and the spring semester where we promote service as fun. You know, outside of all that other stuff, it's a chance to step outside your comfort zone. It's a chance to make friends. It's a chance to do something that you've always wanted to do but never really had that inspiration to take that further step. And students realize when they start asking questions that there are opportunities where you can lead kayak tours through the zoo, or you can help take care of wild animals at the sanctuary in Melbourne, you know, where you can walk turtles and feed baby squirrels, and suddenly they go, oh wow, that's something I don't get to do on a Friday night, you know, wouldn't that be fun? And then many students, you know, realize they have passions but didn't know there was an outlet for service. But we have things they can do that are about supporting surfing, supporting skateboarding, volunteering, you know, with all kinds of athletics and arts programs. Students can earn service hours for performing and public performance. So, you know, volunteering in a show in the Cocoa Village Playhouse, or as an usher, or, you know, painting sets, all kinds of chances to get involved.
That's just amazing. So, on the other side of it, how does an organization get in touch with you to be a part of this family?
Yeah, usually the students reach out to us because they're like, oh, I heard about this organization, may I volunteer there? And that's where we reach out and we do the necessary vetting or groundwork to make sure it's a good fit. The word gets out, you know, that when an organization is trying to get started up or is having trouble filling their needs when it comes to labor, they just give us a call at the Center for Service Learning and Civic Engagement and say, can you give us a hand?
And you match them up.
We make every effort. We do have limitations in that we can only deal with the number of students that we get in any given semester, and of course, you know, the needs that they're working with transportation and academic requirements and such. But we definitely feel like overall we've been very successful with that. So we do have a variety of ways we promote service opportunities. I mean, in addition to the ongoing service projects in our directory that we keep updated every 6 months, we have a board in every office where anybody can give us a flyer or a quick bit job description of a need for volunteer opportunity that can be just a one-day or a temporary opportunity. And students can get involved volunteering in the political process as poll workers or supporting campaigns. And we want to make sure that we give students some incentive to learn about the process of democracy and support that. And engage in civil dialogue. That's a challenge for everyone, not just college students. You know, as we approach a really interesting election, it's more critical than ever that Americans learn how to talk to each other and listen to each other about issues that matter, and to participate in the democratic process in a way that makes it possible.
I think participation is the key word. I know there's so many adults and so many students that just don't want to be involved, and that's such a sad thing when there's so much to be involved in and with.
It's easy to understand why you could get frustrated.
You have something for everyone. I can't even imagine how someone would not be excited about the opportunities that you present to them. What about and this would be a good question for you, what about the legal ramifications of students going out into the community and getting their service hours with particular clubs? Has there been a problem with that at all, or is there ever a problem?
Yeah, good question. And that can open up a whole can of worms.
Uh-oh.
No, the good thing is
slightly open it.
The answer is positive.
Good, okay.
First of all, the college actually purchases an insurance policy that covers all students when they're volunteering in the capacity as a student.
So parents don't have to worry about that.
If they're volunteering on their own outside of a course or as part of their curriculum or degree program, we can still document those hours and they can purchase their own very inexpensive insurance policy if they're worried about that sort of thing. But as long as they're doing it as part of the course of their academic requirements, absolutely covered in our insurance policy, and we have never had a claim. So we've never had an incident where a student needed to pursue something like that. So yeah, it's good to know. There are a lot of concerns that people would worry that you're putting thousands of students out into the community with very little oversight. How can you possibly guarantee their safety or that they won't create problems?
Because you can't keep an eye on them.
Oh, impossible. But for the most part, the system works. It's a partnership, and we've met and worked with these community partners, and we prepare the students for what their expectations are before they go out there. And these are students who are in college because they want to be better people. They want to improve their lives, so their incentive to do well is already in place.
Absolutely. Well, so it's for their own betterment, and they should know that. They accept that and come to you for the best opportunity in the world. I can only imagine. Tell me about I know you never had any failure stories, so another success story, just so that our viewers can. I want to hear about the kids that come back and say, I can do this. I guess what I did. This is me, and there must be a lot of those.
Absolutely. In fact, that's the hard part, is picking one. But we've had many students that go on to start their own nonprofits or to become employed by the nonprofits that they were volunteering directly for or through that experience. Most recent I can think of is a graduate, Samantha Cooper, who is a military veteran who volunteered over 500 documented hours while here in a variety of organizations, but mostly through like the SPCA, and went on to become a leader and eventually an employee of the SPCA and coordinating these trips to recover dogs from other counties and created huge fundraising ideas that have really helped those missions be possible. So these students aren't just going in and logging in a few hours and coming home. Many of them are transforming these organizations and then going on to continue to do this kind of work beyond their graduation.
More information about this program is available online at millermediagroup.org. Funding for your career is provided by
Miller Media Group. Education for life.